From University Arena in Kalamazoo, Michigan, it's the dual match between the Western Michigan Broncos and the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Welcome inside here at University Arena and Reed Fieldhouse. I'm David Korzenowski, happy to be with you for a MAC Gymnastics dual meet between Western and Eastern Michigan. Last season, Western Michigan, the regular season champs in the MAC in women's gymnastics. Eastern Michigan on the other side struggled as we get set for their second matchup of the season between the Eagles and the Broncos. We're just about underway. Eastern Michigan starting on the uneven bars, Western Michigan on the vault as we take a look at the MAC standings. And there's a look at head coach Penny Jurganen for Western Michigan. Last year, the 2019-2020 standings in the MAC, Western Michigan nabbing their first regular season championship since 2006. Penny Jurganen winning Coach of the Year as you take a look. Eastern Michigan was on the bottom third of the conference with a 1-4 conference record, 3-7 overall. But since the two teams have really tightened up, and in the conference standings this year, the two are at 2-3. Ball State right now running away with the conference, 11-0 overall, undefeated in the MAC. Eastern Michigan with a slight edge over Western Michigan as these two teams had a very close meet earlier this year out in Ypsilanti, Michigan. The Eagles barely edging out Western Michigan, and the Broncos looking for revenge here in Senior Day. Tightly contested MAC, and this should be a fun match between Eastern Michigan and Western. Eastern Michigan starting on the bars, and Western Michigan will be on vault. As we take a look at the lineup for Eastern Michigan on the bars, Kara Roberts will start it off, Hayden Crossan, Raja Boris, Molly Paris, and Jada Rondeau. Courtney Bezold also competing in exhibition. Eastern Michigan really owns the uneven bars. It's been one of their strongest events this year. And Western Michigan on the other side will start on the vault as you get a look at some of these gymnasts and their lineup. Ronnie Binstock starting it off, followed by Josephine Thomas, Stacey Harrison, Sarah Moravansky, and Peyton Murphy have really led this team after a huge win at Kent State earlier this week, and Carissa Ludwig competing in exhibition at that junior spot. We're ready to go. David Korzenowski here with the rest of our crew at Broncos Productions for this matchup between Eastern and Western Michigan. These two teams not separated by much distance, close foes in the MAC, competing for the second time this year. First dual match between these two teams. Get a look at the judges, and we will have 4 rotations, block format here today for this meet. Western starting on vault, Eastern Michigan on the uneven bars as you get a look at some of the action starting off. Slight warm-up for both of these two teams before we get underway in the first event. Two teams will then switch. Eastern Michigan will move over to vault, Western 2 on even bars. Rotations 3 and 4, Western Michigan will be on balance beam, Eastern Michigan on floor exercise, and the final rotation of the day, Eastern on balance and Western Michigan on the floor. The horn sounds, we are ready to go here at Reed Fieldhouse between Eastern and Western Michigan. Dual match between these two teams as you get a look at the reigning MAC Coach of the Year in women's gymnastics, Penny Jurganen, in her 8th season. Program record, team score of 196.175, but the team breaking that 196 mark for the 5th time in program history on Thursday. One of their best matches of the season so far in a win at Kent State. First time that they've won at the Golden Flashes since 1991. First vault is underway. Here we go in Kalamazoo. Great start for Western Michigan. Ronnie Binstock, the lead on vault, gets cheers from her teammates and a lot of energy in this gym to start off this match. See Eastern getting ready to take on the uneven bars. We'll be keeping you updated with all of the scores as they come in. 2 judges for each event. Average of the score will go into the final books. And these two teams really had a close match at that quad meet earlier this year as you get a look at Katie Minnesola for Eastern Michigan. Coaching her team, getting ready in her 4th season. She coached 2 gymnasts to second-team All-MAC last year. That was Jada Rondeau and Caitlin Sattler. Big loss for the Eagles today, though. Caitlin Sattler out with a nagging injury. She had a beam bite and has been resting up for that final third of the season. Eastern Michigan takes on the bars. Carolyn Roberts will start it off for the Eagles. Transitions from high bar to low, back to high. Her high this season on the bars, 9.725. Sticks the dismount. What a great start for the Eagles. Roberts, the junior from Pinckney, Michigan, as we head back to vault. Second of the day, it's Josephine Thomas. And another solid start for Eastern Michigan. Thomas from Adamstown, Maryland, competing in her 6th meet this year, 6th time on vault. She also specializes in balance beam. Last year, her high was 9.85 against Kent State on the vault. Thomas in that sophomore class really solid for this Broncos squad, getting the team off to a good start here this afternoon. Again, Western Michigan versus Eastern. It's senior day for the Broncos as they honor the 3 seniors who have served this program in Stacey Harrison, Alexis Olivier, and Sarah Shirley. Hayden Crossan will now take on the uneven bars. She competed in her first all-around meet of the season on Friday. Quick turnaround for the Eagles as they're coming off a meet at Northern Illinois. They nabbed a 195.15 to 194.825 win at the Huskies' place. So a quick road trip for the Eagles this weekend. See the scores coming in on vault. Western Michigan starting with a 9.7 from Ronnie Binstock. We'll keep you posted as those uneven bars come in, as Kara Roberts was great. You get a look at Crossan now. Crossan from Carmel, Indiana. Again, competing in her first all-around match of the season just on Friday. A lot of energy so far from the sophomore. Spinning around that top bar, the dismount. She sticks it. Not even a flinch as Hayden Crossan and the Eagles are showing why the bars are one of their best events. Puts on the sparkling mask and is greeted by a crowd of her teammates. You can feel the energy in this gym as we head back over to vault. This will be Stacey Harrison, the senior from Fayetteville, North Carolina. 6th time on vault this season, average of 9.605. Solid showing from Harrison, one of 3 seniors that really brings a level of positivity to this team, as head coach Penny Jurgenin was effusive in her praise of her 3 seniors when I talked to her earlier this week. Josephine Thomas registering a 9.7 on the vault as well. So Binstock and Thomas start off with 2 9.7s on the vault for Western Michigan. Bar scores are coming in as Carolyn Roberts with a solid 9.725, and Raja Boris will be the 3rd gymnast to take on the uneven bars for the Eagles. Boris, the freshman from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, competing in her 8th meet this season. She specializes on the bars 8th time in this event. Sticks the handstand on the transition from high to low, back to the high bar. Boris, an Olympic qualifier in 2018 and 19, and again, 3 great dismounts from the Eagles on the uneven bars. Really starting strong are the Eagles on one of their best events, and Western Michigan on that vault. Stacey Harrison registering a 9.8. Here's the 4th. Sarah Moravansky. Perhaps a bit of a balance check on the landing from Moravansky. Moravansky, the freshman from Mount Airy, Maryland, competed in all meets this year, all of them all around. So she's one of the most complete gymnasts on this Western Michigan team. Block format, so you can see we're moving quickly between these 2 events. Eastern Michigan focusing on the uneven bars to start, Western Michigan on the vault. We'll be keeping you posted with those scores in the bottom right as they come in on our stats page. Bit of a pause in the action as Eastern Michigan getting ready for their 4th on the bars. Western Michigan getting ready for their 5th on the vault. Peyton Murphy getting ready on vault, but we'll head over to the uneven bars real quick. This is Molly Paris. Reja Boris for the Eagles just registering a 9.8. So we get a look at Paris. Paris trying to continue the hot streak on bars for the Eagles. Spins around, gets ready for the dismount. Nice job from Paris. And Peyton Murphy just finishing up on vault. As we get a look at this replay. This was as Paris was on the uneven bars. Peyton Murphy, one of the best all-around gymnasts on this team. Very solid showing on the vault for her. Going to take a look at that score. Slightly inflated as Western Michigan moving a little bit faster than Eastern on the bars. They are up by 10, but that's not accounting for the one gymnast difference that the Eagles still have to go on the bars. Again, vault, a bit of a quicker moving event. And so far, Sarah Moravansky has the highest score on vault for the Broncos at a 9.825. Here's Carissa Ludwig. Ludwig lands forward, moves that right foot up a little bit, so perhaps a deduction coming for Ludwig as we'll head back over to bars. Eastern has had some impressive showings on the uneven bars to start off this match. Get a look at Jada Rondeau. High on the bars, 9.875. A lot of energy from that Eastern Michigan side to start off this match. Perfect landing. You can see Rondeau pumped up from Savage, Minnesota, went to Central High School. 8th meet of the season, 8th time on the uneven bars. Her high so far this year, 9.875 against Kent State. You get a look at that vault score, 48.825 for Western Michigan. 2 gymnasts at 9.7, 2 at 9.8, and Moravansky leading the charge with a 9.825. Here's Dani Petrosic. Her high on the vault this year, 8.85. This is an exhibition for Petrosic. Petrosic gets some cheers from her teammates, and that should wrap up the vault for Western Michigan. Eastern still on the bars. Jada Rondeau just registered at 9.875, tying her season high this year. One of the best showings of the season so far for Rondeau. Crossan and Boris at 9.8s. Roberts and Paris at 9.725. Here's Bezold. Great job on the uneven bars for the Eagles. Event number 1 has concluded. We'll wait on that final score and get a score check as Western Michigan ahead slightly right now after registering a 48.925 total on the vault. Get a look at head coach Penny Jurgenin in her 8th season. Keep our eye on some possible exhibitions for these two teams as the bar scores are coming in. And as of right now, these two teams are tied. Jada Rondeau with a 9.875. That leads all individual gymnasts in any event so far today. Western Michigan, 48.925 on the vault. Eastern Michigan, same score on the bars. Two teams getting ready for a transition. Dani Petrosic, who just wrapped up on the vault, was a 9.675. As you get a look at Eastern on the uneven bars. So complete on the uneven bars are the Eagles. Ton of energy from that side as they have stuck pretty much every dismount. Really impressed to start off this road showing for the Eagles. Teams still adjusting to the 2021 COVID season, wearing masks. They can take the masks off when they're competing, but still expected to wear those masks on the sideline when interacting with their teammates. Coach Minnesota doing some coaching on the sideline as we'll take another look at this dismount from Eastern. slightly lean to the left, but a great dismount for the Eagles to start off this event. So Eastern Michigan takes a slight lead, now 49.05 to 48.925. Western Michigan getting a break after they've wrapped up on vault. We'll see another exhibition here. And talking with head coach Katie Minnesola, she said she was going to use the exhibitions that she could on the uneven bars as well as the balance beam to try to get her gymnasts a little more practice heading into that final month of the season. Team just as engaged as they would be with their starting five. And another great dismount. Couldn't tell that the Eagles played just 2 days ago against Northern Illinois, nabbing a win on the road. They head over to Kalamazoo, Michigan, taking on their in-state rivals in Western. First event is in the books. Eastern Michigan with a slight lead over Western. Dominating on the bars, Western wrapping up on vault. We'll step aside here on ESPN. Eastern Michigan with a slight lead over Western after the first rotation. The Eagles notching up a 49.05 on the uneven bars. Western Michigan with a 48.925 on the vault. As you get a look at head coach Penny Jernigan, she said that this would be a close meet between two evenly matched teams with a lot of variety in skills. And we've seen just that here on Senior Day. Eastern will now rotate over to the vault and Western to the uneven bars. As we take a look back at some of the highlights from that first event, we'll start with Eastern Michigan on the uneven bars. It was Jada Rondeau who stole the show with a 9.875. So far the leading score on the event. Lowest score is dropped of the 6 that compete, so that was either Molly Paris or Kara Roberts with a 9.725. But a really, really solid start to this event for Eastern Michigan. On the other side for Western Michigan, they were on the vault. Ronnie Binstock and Josephine Thomas led it off. Some solid scores with Moravanski leading the charge with a 9.825. 3 gymnasts with a 9.8 and 2 with an even 9.7. As you get a look at the scores after event 1. Again, Eastern Michigan with a .125 lead over their in-state rivals in Western. Just look at some of the athleticism from these gymnasts. Eastern versus Western here on this Sunday afternoon at University Arena. Take a look at the vault lineup for the Eagles. Starting it off will be Callie Harden, the senior, Carly Kasanovich, Molly Paris, Hayden Crossan, Kara Roberts, and Raja Boris. Again, Crossan perhaps competing all around today. That sophomore who registered her first all-around meet on Friday against Northern Illinois. Here is Callie Harden to start it off for the Eagles. Excuse me. Still a touch warm-up as they're getting ready for this event. Western Michigan finishing up on the uneven bars warm-up. Stacey Harrison getting ready. As you get a look at Binstock, Petrosic, Murphy, Moravanski, Olivier, and Harrison. So 2 seniors competing in this event for the Broncos. Alexis Olivier and Stacey Harrison as we get set for the second rotation between the Eagles and the Broncos. David Korzanowski here with you at Reed Fieldhouse. High energy meet, even with relatively empty stands. Limited fans in capacity here and across all of NCAA sports. They talked about the adjustment to the COVID-19 season, practicing in small groups and slowly working their way back to practicing with a full team. These 2 teams really riding high lately. Western Michigan, their best meet of the year on Thursday against Kent State. And Peyton Murphy has registered a 9.9 in 3 of her last 4 meets. She's competing as well as anybody in the MAC right now, the sophomore for Western Michigan, as they get set for the uneven bars. And Eastern Michigan gets set for the vault. As you get look at the 9.9 club this season, handful of gymnasts on both teams have registered a 9.9 or better. Caitlin Sattler, highest score out of either of these 2 teams with a 9.925 on the beam earlier this year. Peyton Murphy with a 9.9 on the beam 3 times in the last 4 meets, and Stacey Harrison with a 9.9 on the floor. So a lot of talent across these two rosters and a very tightly contested MAC right now. Ball State undefeated so far to start off the season, and Eastern Michigan 11-3 are their results overall, 3-2 in the MAC. As these two teams are getting in all the meets that they can with all of the adjustments and cancellations and reshuffling that has gone on in athletic programs across the country. Dual meet between these two teams after Eastern Michigan edged out Western for the win at a quad meet back at Eastern Michigan earlier this season. They'll also meet one more time before the season is over. That'll be at a quad meet at Central Michigan. It'll be Central Michigan, Ball State, Eastern, and Western Michigan. And then in about a month, MAC championships will be in this very gym here in Kalamazoo. They were supposed to host last year in 2020. Obviously, the season cut short in the second week of March due to the coronavirus pandemic. These two teams still dealing with all of the guidelines and protocols in place in college athletics as we get set for the second event. Uneven bars for the Western Michigan Broncos. Ronnie Binstock will start it off. Her high this year on the bars, 9.725. Jumps onto the low, and we are underway for rotation 2. Eastern Michigan a slight lead over Western. Take a look at that top bar. Spins and transitions over to the lower. Gets her balance on the low, moves up to the top. Getting ready for the dismount is Ronnie Binstock. Great start for Western Michigan on the bars. Heading over to the vault. First vault just wrapping up for the Eagles. Second will be Carly Kasanovich. As you take a look at the replay from the first vault for Eastern Michigan. Coach Minnesota was really pleased with her vault performance on Friday at Northern Illinois, trying to keep that consistency here on Sunday. Kasanovich gets ready. Kasanovich, the junior from Moon Township, Pennsylvania, competing in her 8th meet this year. Her average on the vault, a 9.657. Here's Kasanovich. Beautiful start, and all Eastern Michigan right now. Again, a chorus of applause and cheers from her teammates on the back end. Quickly puts on that mask and jogs back. Her high on this event this year, a 9.8. Back over on the bars. Danny Petrosic getting ready. Petrosic, the freshman from Rockford, Illinois, competing on the uneven bars for the 5th time this year. Her average on this event, a 9.7, and her high just a 1/4 of a point better. Petrosic, second on the event for Western Michigan. Petrosic spins around. Good start for Danny Petrosic, the freshman. Impressing on the uneven bars as Western Michigan trying to chip away at that Eastern lead. Again, scores will be updating in the bottom right. Eastern Michigan with a slight lead as they're getting more vaulters in right now, but Western will catch up once those gymnasts even out. Take a look at Molly Paris, her high on the vault this year, a 9.775. Paris was on the bars as well with a 9.725. Paris competes on every event except floor exercises. Her average on the vault this year at 9.746. Eastern Michigan slowly chipping away and building up that lead. It's now at 0.2 of a point. As you get a look at the bottom right, those scores will continue to update as we get them in here at University Arena. Paris waiting for the green light, so we'll shift back over to the uneven bars. Peyton Murphy impressed on Thursday against Kent State. Peyton Murphy, average on the uneven bars this year, a 9.615. Her high this year, she's done it twice, was a 9.775. Did it against Central Michigan and Bowling Green. Murphy from 45 minutes outside of Chicago, competing in college up here in Kalamazoo. The dismount. Murphy perhaps a little upset with herself on the balance check on the dismount. See how much deductions that's accounted for from these two judges. Heading back over to vault. Here is Paris. Paris with her teammates to her left and right, getting in the zone, waiting for the sprint. From Hudson, Ohio, Molly Paris. Molly Paris impressing so far, a 9.725 on the vault. We'll see what her score on the bars. We'll see what her score is on the vault momentarily. Right now, Moravanski still has the lead in the vault score with 9.825. And she'll get ready for the uneven bars here. There you see that score right on your screen. Binstock registering a 9.7. That was on the vault as we get set for Moravanski on the uneven bars. High on this event this year, 9.85. A lot of praise of Moravanski from head coach Penny Jernigan. Said that she's right on Peyton Murphy's heels for one of the best all-around gymnasts on this team. Moravanski on the upper bar. Dismounts and sticks it. Sarah Moravanski off to a hot start, competing in both events so far today. Kara Roberts will now move over to vault. As we get a look at her replay. This was when Moravanski was on the bars. Seems like Eastern Michigan pretty happy with themselves so far as they have that 10-point lead. Again, that's a little bit inflated because Western Michigan is one gymnast behind on the bars. Her high so far this season was a 9.775 on the vault. And one of the three seniors for Western Michigan, Alexis Olivier, will get ready for the uneven bars. Her high on the event this year, 9.85. Olivier from Cornelius, North Carolina, competed in all 6 meets, all of them on this event. This is her specialty. Average on the uneven bars, a 9.68 in the 2021 season. Career high of a 9.875 last year came against Illinois, and a tough loss that Western Michigan suffered toward the end of that season. Olivier moves to the upper bar, gets ready for the dismount. Olivier lands it. All smiles from the senior Alexis Olivier, competing in her specialty event here on Senior Day. Gets hugs from her teammates, greeted by the crowds and their cheers here at University Arena. Olivier putting her mask back on as we get set for the final couple over at the vault for Eastern. Again, 6 gymnasts competing in each event. Lowest score is dropped, so the top 5 scores are taken into account. Western Michigan slowly chipping away at that Eastern lead, now trailing by just 0.075 points through just about 2 events. We're wrapping up the bars and vault here in the second rotation of this Senior Day match for Western Michigan. This is Jada Rondeau on the vault, the senior for the Eastern side. Went to Central High School, second team All-MAC in 2020. Rondeau. Beautiful vault from the senior. Average on the event this year, a 9.525. Trying to bump that up a little bit. Just her second time competing on the vault this year, as she's trying to move into an all-around gymnast. Stacey Harrison with the dismount on uneven bars, and she follows up the other senior, Alexis Olivier, with a strong bars performance. Harrison with a 9.763 average on the uneven bars this year. As you get a look at some of her routine right before that dismount that we came over for. Really strong bars from Stacey Harrison. There you see some of the chalk on the masks. These athletes having to wear the masks between events when talking to teammates and when practicing. They even tuck the masks underneath their chin to be able to breathe during the touch warm-ups. But when they are competing in in-match events, they're able to take that mask off just while they compete. We'll have a couple exhibitions on the bars, but Western Michigan has tied it up. So through 2 rotations, so far our scores come in at 97.65 for both teams. So this will be a tightly contested meet between these 2 teams, as we expected. Getting a look at a couple exhibitions on the bars. This is Brecken Quas for Western Michigan. Quas, the freshman from Ada, Michigan, went to Forest Eastern High School, has not competed officially so far in this 2021 season. Was a level 10 gymnast state qualifier in 2019. First in the all-around interstate championship in Michigan. As you see her working her way perhaps into that starting lineup for the Broncos moving forward. And a slight score adjustment so far. We have Western Michigan moving out in front of Eastern after a strong performance on the bars, moving ahead as Eastern Michigan drops down after the second rotation on the vault. 2 rotations down, Western Michigan moves in front of their in-state rivals, the Eastern Michigan Eagles. 2 rotations down, 2 to go here on Senior Day. Western Michigan leading Eastern Michigan by a score of 97.825 to 97.65. Rotation 2 big for the Broncos as they won uneven bars over the vault by 0.3 as we take a look at some of the vault highlights for the Eastern Michigan side. Notching up a 48.6 even on the vault. As you get a look at Kara Roberts for Eastern Michigan. This was Molly Paris. Highest score was Kasanovich with a 9.75. No one breaking 9.8, so perhaps notable for the Eagles as they fall behind after leading on the first rotation, now trailing after the second. Western Michigan side, really strong performance on the uneven bars. They notched up a 48.9 flat on the uneven bars. Lost the event by 0.15 points to Eastern Michigan, but made up for it on the vault as you get a look and some of the high scores here. Stacey Harrison and Moravanski both with 9.825s. Moravanski winning the vault and tying her teammate Stacey Harrison for the best on the Broncos squad in rotation number 2. Tishkoff's score will be dropped with a 9.65. As you get a look at Stacey Harrison, one of 3 seniors who's being honored here today. Solid performance from her as she tied Moravanski on the uneven bars. Again, Western leading Eastern Michigan by 0.175 points through 2 rotations. Now we move to the 3rd and 4th, which head coach Penny Jurgenin said will be the deciding factor between Eastern and Western Michigan, specifically the balance beam. First, we'll take a look at the floor lineup for the Eagles. Kasanovich, Boris, Gregory, Crossan, who is again going for another all-around competition here today, Rondeau and Roberts. 2 freshmen, 1 sophomore, a junior, and 2 seniors. And this could be the deciding event, the balance beam. 2 teams extremely evenly matched on the beam. It could be the difference in this match as you get a look at Peyton Murphy warming up, the sophomore. Again, 5 sophomores competing in the beam. Probably the strongest top to bottom class on this Western Michigan side. And Moravanski, the freshman, who has been so impressive in her first season here in Kalamazoo, getting ready to go on the beam as well. Talking about that sophomore class, they've accounted for nearly half of Western Michigan's scoring this year at over 48%. They do have the most gymnasts in that class with 6, but to get such great contributors in just their 2nd season is something Penny Jernigan has to be so excited about. As you get a look at one of the seniors, the veteran leaders who have sort of steered the ship this year for the Broncos side, and Stacey Harrison. Clapping on her team, getting ready to go for this 3rd rotation. She has one more meet in University Arena with the MAC Championships coming up in just about a month. There you get a look at head coach Katie Minnesota. Western Michigan won the vault by a score of 48.925 to 48.6. So Eastern Michigan leaving some points on the board there. On the uneven bars, Eastern Michigan proving again that they really own that event with a 49.05, edging out Western Michigan's 48.9. Team huddling up as we head into the final two rotations. And again, these two teams separated by less than 0.2 of a point so far. Eastern Michigan besting Western Michigan earlier this year at a quad meet. That was back on the 6th of February. Eastern winning that meet over Western Michigan by just 2.225 points. So not much separating these two teams, and every 1/10 of a point, every fraction of a point could come down to have a huge effect on this meet. There you see the beam squad getting ready to go. So Eastern will take on the floor. Western will take on the balance beam. The balance beam 16 feet long, just 4 inches wide. So you can get some perspective on the athleticism that these athletes are showing on the beam. Lead off on the beam for Western Michigan. Broncos starting it off. And Ronnie Binstock will start it off for Western Michigan. Thomas, Moravansky, and Tishkoff coming up next for the Western Michigan side. Trying to keep that lead, leading by 0.175 points right now as Eastern Michigan takes on the floor. Binstock moving back, getting ready to go from her left to right toward head coach Penny Jernigan. She gets set for the dismount. Sticks it well. Slight hop from Binstock, but a great start to this event for the Broncos. Over on the floor, we'll get you caught up to speed with Carly Kasanovich, who starts off as the leadoff for the Eagles. Her high on the floor this year, 9.825. Kasanovich, 8th meet, 6th time on the floor. Her average on the floor this season, 9.765. And the floor exercise is really where you see that personality come out from these gymnasts. They get to choose their playlists, choose their routines, work on them with their coaches. And it's some of these gymnasts' favorites as Kasanovich gets ready for a pass. Slight balance check on the landing, but great job from Carly Kasanovich, the junior who competes strictly on vault and floor. Kasanovich a bit frustrated with herself. You see the emotions here on all of these meets, as every gymnast wants to perform their best in every event. Josephine Thomas getting ready to go on the beam. Her high this year, 9.85. Thomas went to Tuscarora High School, competes on the vault and the balance beam. Thomas had a 9.7 on the vault earlier in this meet. She gets set for the beam now. Working through her routine. Average on the beam this year, a 9.515. Her high was against Central Michigan, the Chippewas, early this season. Beautiful work from Thomas. You've seen that personality as she's the second gymnast on the balance beam for the Broncos. Thomas working in front of judges. They have them positioned on either side of the bar to get a different angle, perhaps see any mistakes that might be made. Couldn't catch any there as Thomas does a very solid job on the beam. Gets a high five and a fist bump from her head coach as we'll head over to the mat for the second floor exercise for the Eagles. This is Raja Boris. Boris, the freshman from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. 8th time on the floor this year. Also 8 times on the uneven bars. Those are her two specialties. Not a lot of all-arounders on this Eastern Michigan squad. Just Rondeau and Crossan have competed all-around for Eastern Michigan this season. Crossan doing so on Friday against Northern Illinois. Boris won the uneven bars championship in the Minnesota High School State Championship Tournament in 2018, led in the personality show here on the mat. There you get a look at the scores again in the bottom right. Keep an eye, though, because Western Michigan still has one more gymnast who has yet to be scored. That'll make those scores a lot closer. Slightly inflated right now for the Eastern Michigan side at 107.325. Boris, greeted by a chorus of applause from her teammates. A very solid showing from the freshman on the mat. There you get a look, scores being updated. So Western Michigan still slightly in the driver's seat with a .275 lead. Moravanski competing in her third event of the day. Moravanski with an 8.25 on the bars and winning the vault with an 8.25 on that event as well. So two 9.825s for Moravanski. We'll see what she can do on the beam. Hot start for Moravanski. Excellent beginning of her beam rotation. Moravanski went to Linganore High School. Has competed in every match this year all around. Her average on the balance beam a 9.575. See that focus, keeping those eyes down, trying to make sure she keeps her balance. Moravanski, slight balance check, leaning over to the left, but regains composure quickly. The dismount, perfect from Moravanski. All smiles from the freshman as she continues to dazzle. Two great meets in a row that she's putting together with just the floor left for the all-around for Moravanski. Third on the floor for the Eastern Michigan side. This is Shannon Gregory. Get a look at her floor high this year. Gregory really specializes on this floor event. A lot of specialization on this Eastern Michigan gymnast squad. Great work from Gregory. Her high was the 9.875 at that home quad match against Western Michigan, who they bested, winning the quad match out of 4 teams earlier this year on February 6th. Gregory keeps the dancing moving. She gets ready for a cross on the mat. Gregory, really impressive work so far. Junior from Edison, New Jersey, wraps up her rotation on the floor. Again, looking at that score on the bottom right, Western Michigan with a slight lead over Eastern. And this is Charlotte Tishkoff, who will take on the beam next for the Broncos side. She's hit a 9.875 twice this year, once at the quad match and once at Kent State, so coming off of a tie for her season high. Still trying to get into that 9.9 club, as she's just a fraction of a point away from doing so. Hayden Crossan gets ready for the floor exercise. Just her second of the year for an actual scored performance. She's competed in exhibition on the floor a handful of times. And one of the reasons that head coach Katie Minnesola has been saving these all-arounders is to make sure that their bodies are ready for the final couple weeks of the season. Some nagging injuries on the Eagles side, but they're able to compete in certain events and save some body parts, to use Coach Minnesola's words. Crossan gets going. Went to Carmel High School in Indiana. Second on bars at the 2018 Level 10 Indiana State Championship. First in all-around and the uneven bars. Crossan. Excellent start. And solid support from this Eastern Michigan side. They are extremely active and loud, cheering on their teammates to make up for the lack of fans here at University Arena. We have a slight pause on the balance beam as the judges are deliberating, perhaps going over a couple scores after that third competitor for the Western Michigan side. So we'll stay with Crossan for now here on the floor. Third rotation. Western Michigan led after 2. Eastern Michigan up right now with a couple more gymnasts having been scored. They're at 126.9 overall, Western at 117.4. Crossan getting ready for perhaps her last pass of this routine. Great work from Hayden Crossan. Final applause for Crossan, and we'll head back over to the balance beam for the Western Michigan side. Charlotte Tishkoff, 4th of 6. Again, 6 gymnasts competing in each event. Lowest score is dropped. Coming up, we got Peyton Murphy and Ari Mamelka for the Western Michigan side. Tishkoff from Scottsdale, Arizona. 6th meet of the year, 6th on the balance beam, has competed on the uneven bars a couple times and the floor once, but balance beam is definitely her specialty. She was 7th in the MAC in the national qualifying in 2020 and all around with a 38.175. So Tishkoff can compete in every event, and a solid dismount on the balance beam for Charlotte Tishkoff. Back to the floor we go. We just saw Hayden Crossan, and now we see Jada Rondeau. She has hit the 9.9 on this event. This is one of her best. Average of a 9.792, and hit the 9.9 at that home quad meet earlier this year. Great start. Has not even a flinch on that first land on the pass. Western Michigan slightly leading after those scores are coming in. Keeping you updated on the floor so far. Reja Boris leading the way for Eastern Michigan with a 9.85. Hayden Crossan notching up a 9.7 that you just saw right before Rondeau. Kasanovich with a 9.675. She was a little upset with herself after that one, and Shannon Gregory with a 9.725. Rondeau getting into it with her teammates, feeding off of their energy. She had a great first pass. We'll see what's left in store for the rest of this routine. Rondeau, in her senior year with Eastern Michigan, competed in every regular season meet in 2018 and 12 meets in 2019. Season cut short in 2020. She gets ready for her next pass. She is so good in this event. One of the best performances we've seen so far. Ton of applause. And that'll be vying for a 9.9 from what I saw. Not a lot of room for deductions as we get a look at Peyton Murphy back on the beam for Western. Leader so far on the beam is Josephine Thomas with a 9.8. Binstock came in with just .025 below her at 9.775, and Maura Vansky with a 9.725. Murphy phenomenal on the beam, grinning with herself, happy after that first move. Murphy's average on the beam so far this year at 9.87. This is her best event. She hit the 9.9 3 times in the last 4 meets. Murphy collects herself. Dismount coming. There it is. She sticks it perfectly. Fist pump and all. As Murphy, bunch of fist bumps and hugs with her teammates, gets that mask back on. And Carolyn Roberts will round out the floor lineup for Eastern Michigan. Carolyn Roberts has put up a solid showing so far today. Roberts notching up a 9.7 on the vault earlier today, and also competing on the uneven bars with a 9.725. So those are her 3 events. You won't see her on the beam most likely, as she specializes in these 3. So final event of the day for Roberts. We'll see what she has in store after a great showing from Jada Rondeau. Still waiting on that score. We'll get it for you as she really impressed, possibly competing for a 9.9. And Rondeau just a fraction below. That score just coming in at 9.875 on the floor as you get a look at Roberts. The 6th out of 6 on the mat. Here's Roberts. Anchor on the floor, and you can see why. Her and Rondeau, so impressive. Trying to chip away at that Western Michigan lead that they had after 2 rotations. Roberts finishes it off, and all smiles from her. Really impressive floor routine from the Eagles, trying to get back into it and possibly move into the lead after Western Michigan had a slight edge after 2 rotations. 6th out of 6 on the beam is Ariana Mamalenka. Waiting for the cue from the 2 judges. This is just her 2nd meet of the year. Her debut was on Thursday. She had a 9.575, and that was her high on the beam, so just her 2nd showing, not in exhibition of the 2021 season. Opening smile, she gets ready to mount the bar. A little more on Mamelka. She's from Michigan, went to Fraser High School from Clinton Township. High school valedictorian and a level 9 bars and beams champion in 2016. And she falls off the beam. First that we've seen of the day, so that will be a deduction, but now she has to try to shake it off and move through the rest of her routine. Perhaps some of those beginning nerves for Mamelka. So it's just her 2nd meet of her college career. She did not compete at all in 2020. Played her club gymnastics at Hunt's Gymnastics Academy under head coach Shannon Hunt. Mamelka spins around again, the first one to fall off the beam so far today. Sticks the dismount though, a solid 2nd half of her routine after the initial fall on the beam. See what the scores come in at. And Peyton Murphy's score just coming in on the beam, a 9.95, highest of her career. First time she has broken above the 9.9. And Peyton Murphy, fantastic job capturing the crown so far on the beam. That's going to be tough to beat for Eastern Michigan and really could be a deciding score in this whole meet. Again, highest score of the day, Peyton Murphy, 9.95 on the balance beam. Get a look at the exhibition here on the floor. This is Anna Grace McCullough for Eastern Michigan. Great finish for McCullough as she wraps up. Freshman from Birmingham, Alabama. Went to Briarwood High School. Great to see these gymnasts work in exhibition. Final scores coming in as Western Michigan still maintaining that .225 lead. Peyton Murphy with a 9.95 on the balance beam, best of her career. So now that's 4 9.9s or better in the last 5 meets. Peyton Murphy really hitting her stride in the final few weeks of the season. Head coach Katie Minnesola trying to finish strong on the balance beam and chip away as Western Michigan with that lead after 3 rotations. Danny Petrosic will compete on exhibition for the beam. So final scores are in on the beam. Peyton Murphy running away with it so far. Again, the 9.95, best from any gymnast in any event so far today. Jada Rondeau besting all of her teammates with a 9.875. That's the high score on the floor so far. Western Michigan through 3 rotations up 146.85 to Eastern Michigan's 146.625 as you get a look at Petrosic on the beam. This is an exhibition for the Broncos. Petrosic has notched up 4 meets on the balance beam for scores. This is an exhibition, so won't count towards Western Michigan's overall team performance today. As you see a slight balance check leaning over to her left. Regains control nicely. Again, just 4 inches wide is this balance beam. Considering all the moves they're doing, you really gain an appreciation for how athletic these gymnasts are. Eastern Michigan even moving over to the beam, as this will be their 4th rotation once Petrosic wraps up. Petrosic getting ready for the dismount. Here it is. Great job from Danny Petrosic, the freshman who competes all around. Not today, as this will be an exhibition on the beam. And Peyton Murphy stealing the show with a 9.95. Western Michigan leading Eastern Michigan by 0.225. 1 rotation to go. Western coming up on the floor and Eastern on the beam here on Watch ESPN. Back at University Arena, Western Michigan with a 0.225 point lead over Eastern Michigan after the 3rd rotation. Final rotation of this meet will be Western on the floor, Eastern on the balance beam. Western Michigan just did a great job on the balance beam. We'll take a look first at those floor exercises from the Eagles. This was Carolyn Roberts to start it off. And Jada Rondeau again stealing the show. She notched up the highest score for the Eagles side with a 9.875. That lowest score from Kasanovich will be dropped right at the top with the 9.675. But really a great routine all around. Hayden Crossan, who's competed in all 3 events so far, with a 9.7. And the Eagles doing a great job on the mat. Total score on the floor for the Eastern Michigan Eagles was a 48.975, just a hair below 49. Western on the beam, the story was Peyton Murphy with a 9.95. You'll get some highlights there in a sec. As you take a look at the scores, Ariana Mamelka, first real mistake that we've seen. She fell off the bar, so a slight deduction there. That score will be dropped. As you get a look at some of the highlights, Moravanski, who has competed in all 3 events so far, with a 9.725 as well. Murphy's dismount was fantastic. Her best beam showing of the year so far. Take a look at Peyton Murphy coming off that 9.95, suffered a serious injury last season after winning the all-around in the first meet of the year at Michigan State. Missed the rest of the season. So making up for lost time in her sophomore campaign, and she has done such a good job with a career best on the beam of 9.95 notched up here today. Preseason poll, Central Michigan was tabbed as the preseason favorite, but not by much. You see teams 1 through 4 all each separated by just 1 point, and Eastern Michigan probably the most improved team in the MAC this year, as they're in the top 3 right now. And Ball State also proving some doubters wrong, as they are atop the MAC right now with an undefeated record. The MAC championships will be in this same gym on March 20th. Western Michigan was supposed to host the meet in 2020. Obviously that did not happen for reasons out of these teams' control, but they're happy to get back at it. And head coach Penny Jernigan said she's grateful for every day, every practice that this team gets, trying to get a big win in the MAC here today. Take a look at the Eastern Michigan lineup for the balance beam. Stuckey, Paris, Price, Gregory. Hayden Crossan will compete all around with that 4th event. She'll be 5th out of 6. And Jada Rondeau, after the leading score so far on the floor, will also compete on the beam. Touch warm-up is underway right now. As we take a look at the floor lineup for Western Michigan, Moravanski will also compete all around, as will Peyton Murphy. So those two perhaps trying for the all-around championship, all-around win here today in this dual meet. Stacey Harrison, the senior, the only senior in this floor lineup, as this is a very young team for Western Michigan with a lot of potential moving forward. Handful of gymnasts competing in the all-around right now, as the parents are in the gym ready to go. For the 4th and final rotation, it will be Western Michigan on the floor and Eastern on the beam. Touch warm-up is wrapping up, and we are just moments away from the 4th and final here. Rondeau also going for all-around today, as her highest scores were 9.875s, both on the bars and on the floor. We'll keep an eye on that all-around score as we tally those up and see who perhaps is in the running. Right now, it's Peyton Murphy who has the highest score of any gymnast with a 29.45 through 3 events. Sarah Moravanski right on her heels with a 29.375 through 3 events. As the team huddles up, trying to finish strong here on the floor and capture a dual meet win over a MAC rival in Eastern Michigan. So right now, Moravanski and Murphy leading the way in the all-around. Murphy at first, Moravanski at second through 3 events. Rondeau and Crossan will also compete all-around. They both have 29.25 through 3 events. So it's those 4 that are capturing or trying to capture 1, 2, and 3 in the all-around. Eastern getting ready for the beam lineup as we get set to go. Michaela Stuckey will start it off, followed by Molly Paris and Brianna Price. Again, this balance beam score for Eastern Michigan is going to be huge if they want to catch Western. They trail by .225 right now through 3 rotations. Here is Michaela Stuckey, the sophomore from Union City, Maryland. And this is really when they miss their junior, Caitlin Sattler. She was second team All-MAC last year, competes exclusively on balance beam and floor, not in the lineup today after a beam bite and a slight shin injury. She was on crutches during the warm-ups, and head coach Katie Minnesola said they're saving her for the last couple weeks of the season, trying to make sure that she's healthy and ready to go. Slight balance check from Stuckey, who went to Indiana Connections Academy for high school. This is her specialized event, 7th meet of the year, and all of them on balance beam. Solid dismount as Stuckey, pleased with herself, gets some high fives from her teammates, averaging a 9.5 on the beam this year. Moravanski begins her routine on the floor. Her high there this year is a 9.85. Talk to most gymnasts. They say the floor is their favorite event. You can really see those passes from corner to corner that are room for highlight material. They choose their music and their routines. Moravanski, great start on her first pass. We'll also get you caught up on the beginning of this rotation for Moravanski. Moravanski just wrapping up, and the freshman finishing her all around as we take a look at the first half of this routine from Moravanski. This is when we were on the balance beam. Get a look at the first pass here. Great work. You can see that enthusiasm from the freshman. We'll head back over to the beam for the Eastern side. This is Molly Paris. Paris second up following Michaela Stuckey, this balance beam specialist. Paris's 8th meet of the year, 6th time on the beam. Her average on the beam is a 9.745. Her high was a 9.85 on Friday against Northern Illinois. So riding hot right now on the balance beam is Molly Paris. Paris went to Hudson High School. Competed in just 2 meets in 2020 before she got injured, so similar to Peyton Murphy, suffering an injury last year that had her out most of the season. And again, keep an eye on the scores on the bottom right. Those will be calculated as they come in from the judges. Paris gets ready for the dismount here. Great work from Molly Paris. Fist pumps and all, and that will be huge if Eastern Michigan wants to come back and try to chip away at this Western lead. We get a look at Dani Petrosic over on the floor, second in the rotation after Sarah Moravanski. Petrosic, a freshman from Rockford, Illinois. Her high on the floor this year, an even 9.8. Majoring in English here at Western Michigan University. Has competed in all-around a couple times, had a 37.925 average in all-around. And that was also her high at Northern Illinois. Petrosic not competing all around today. For the Western Michigan side, that's Sarah Moravansky and Peyton Murphy. For the Eastern Michigan side, Jada Rondeau and Hayden Crossan competing all around. Petrosic moving into the second half of her routine here. Moves into that far left corner as she gets ready for her next pass. Here she goes, Petrosic. Great job. Leaning back onto that right foot. As she comes down on a knee, you see the fist bump from head coach Penny Jernigan in the background. She is pumped up as Western Michigan trying to close out this meet. They had a lead through 3 rotations. Here's Brianna Price on the beam. Price, a balance beam specialist, 8th meet of the year on this event. She's hit a 9.775 twice. That's her career high. Season high, I should say. Eastern Michigan, all about that enthusiasm on the sideline. You could tell this team very close, as head coach Katie Minnesola said they work really well together in practice, push each other, try to do their best, bring out the best in each other. Solid landing. And the enthusiasm, the pumped up crowd here for Eastern Michigan. Nice job by Brianna Price, the senior from North Carolina. Coaching up who's coming next as we'll move back over to the floor. This is one of the 3 seniors being honored here today, and this is Stacey Harrison's best event. She hit 9.9 earlier this season at that quad meet on February 6th. So she hit the 9.9 the last time she faced off against Eastern Michigan. Can she do it again? Music begins and Harrison is underway. 4th rotation and Harrison 3rd up on the floor for the Broncos. Couple scores coming in for the Western Michigan floor routine. Petrosic with a 9.675. Moravansky just a 9.625, so some deductions there for the freshman. Harrison all smiles on the mat. This is her favorite event. Harrison from Jack Britt High School. Average on the floor this year of a 9.605, and again hitting that 9.9 earlier in February. She and Peyton Murphy in the 9.9 club this season for the Broncos, and Peyton Murphy even beating that with a 9.95 on the beam just moments ago. Here's Harrison's next pass into the back corner. She lands it, moves back onto that right foot, and continues in her routine. Harrison dancing along with her teammates, and that'll wrap up the 3rd routine of the day on the floor for the Broncos. That score tightening up. Take a look at it on the bottom right, as right now Eastern Michigan in front. Still have a few scores to calculate there, so not final, as Shannon Gregory's off to a great start. This beam event is crucial for Eastern Michigan to try to catch the Broncos. Gregory, average on the beam of 9.617. Her high of 9.85 was against Bowling Green earlier this year. And an awesome landing. Eastern Michigan really catching up to Western right now, as Paris and Price couldn't quite catch Peyton Murphy, but are right now 2nd and 3rd in the beam event. Paris had a 9.85, Price had a 9.825. to beat the 2nd best on Western Michigan. So Eastern really catching up, and head coach Penny Jernigan for the Western side said this event would probably come down to the balance beam. That could be the difference in the meet between these 2 teams. Binstock gets ready on the floor. This is the 4th gymnast on the mat for the Broncos. Great job by Ronnie Binstock on her first pass. Binstock, she loves the floor as well. Her average on this event is a 9.825. Binstock. Moving around well on the mat. Can see all smiles from her. Block format, so two teams competing on the different events at the same time. Eastern right now focused on the beam, and Western obviously on the floor. Binstock getting ready for her next pass, flashes up the W with both hands and gets going. Binstock moving into the back right corner. Great landing from Ronnie Binstock. That'll wrap up her routine, and 4 down on the floor for Western Michigan. That could be big for them, as they need all the points and fractions of points that they can get right now. So again, no one has beaten Peyton Murphy on the beam, but Gregory, Paris, and Price, 2, 3, and 4 on the beam. Shannon Gregory, who just wrapped up with a 9.875. So all 3 on the beam so far have notched up at least a 9.8. And this is Hayden Crossan trying to finish off her second straight all-around meet. Another great landing, and Eastern Michigan is feeling good right now, possibly moving into the lead ahead of Western. All 4 balance beams have been fantastic for the Eagles, as Crossan finishes up well, and her day has finished. Peyton Murphy now with some pressure on the floor. This is going to come down to the wire, as we thought it would, between Western and Eastern Michigan. Murphy, the 5th of 6. Carissa Ludwig coming up next, and Peyton Murphy has to put that 9.95 on the beam in the rearview mirror and try to deliver on the floor for her team. Murphy's average on the floor of a 9.785, a high of a 9.875. Has yet to hit a 9.9 on the floor. She's done it 4 times on the beam, though. Really coming down to crunch time now between Western and Eastern Michigan. 2 more passes, or 2 more gymnasts, I should say, on the floor for Western. Murphy's one of them. Here's a pass. Great landing from Murphy. Murphy from Carroll Stream, Illinois, went to Glenbard North High School. Western Michigan trying to match Eastern's enthusiasm as she gets ready for one more pass. There you see, scores in the bottom right. Eastern now ahead by a 1/10 of a point. Coming down to crunch time between the Broncos and the Eagles. Here's Murphy. Another great landing. Peyton Murphy putting on a show so far today in this dual match. Flashes up the W, and more fist bumps for this team. Peyton Murphy again putting on a show. She's trying to capture another all-around title here today as well. She was in the lead through 3 rotations. And this gymnast has had quite the day. Jada Rondeau moving over to the beam. Rondeau so far with the leading score on the floor of 9.875. Rondeau also the highest score on the beams. And a great landing on the balance beam. Eastern Michigan is owning the balance beam so far in the 4th rotation, making their case that they could possibly edge out Western here in this dual match. Rondeau leading in 2 events so far on the beams and the floor. A great landing on the balance beam. Double fist bump and greeted by all of her teammates. Waits until she puts the mask on before she celebrates. And Eastern really riding hot right now in this 4th rotation. Head coach Katie Minnesola is ecstatic over with her team on the beam. Hayden Crossan notched up another 9.85. This is Carissa Ludwig on the floor. The anchor on this floor lineup for Western Michigan. Great job by Carissa Ludwig. And Peyton Murphy notching up her first 9.9 of the season on the floor. That score just came in. Peyton Murphy with a 9.925 on the floor. Murphy putting on an absolute show today. The 9.95 on the beam ties a school record set back in 2004 for the highest beam score. Look at how close this is coming down to the wire. Scores in the bottom right. Eastern Michigan leading by just .025 as we are on our final gymnast on the floor, final gymnast on the beam. We'll get you over to the beam momentarily, but Eastern has done such a great job there. Carissa Ludwig with another good pass on the floor. Ludwig finishes strong for Western, and now it's just about waiting and seeing how these scores come in. Well, you might have heard some cheers from off screen. That was because of the beam lineup for Eastern Michigan. Look at that dismount. Eastern really feeding off of each other's energy on the beam. Greeted by all of her teammates. As Eastern Michigan, right now with a slight lead, we still have to calculate all these scores and wait for Ludwig's score to come in on the floor. She had a great floor routine for Western Michigan. Peyton Murphy with two 9.9s today, 9.925 on the floor and a 9.95 on the beam. Jada Rondeau, though, matching Peyton Murphy on the beam. She also had a 9.95, and that's her career record as well. Rondeau absolutely shattering her previous record on the beam this season, which was 9.875. She ties Peyton Murphy, which seemed nearly impossible, at a 9.95. These gymnasts really came to show out today here on Sunday. Western Michigan a slight lead with the scores as they stand right now by just 0.05 points. Western Michigan also breaking 195 for the second straight meet and the 6th time in school history. Comes down to the wire now on the bar. This is an exhibition for Eastern Michigan. And a great dismount. One of the best showings of the season on the balance beam for the Eastern Michigan Eagles. This is also an exhibition on the floor for Western Michigan. As this is Josephine Thomas on the floor, just finishing up her routine. Team huddles now and just waiting for these final scores to come in. Story of the day, though, was the balance beam. Jada Rondeau for Eastern Michigan, Peyton Murphy for Western, each with a 9.95 on the balance beam. Huge scores on the mat as well. Peyton Murphy and Carissa Ludwig tied for the lead on the floor with a 9.925. So Peyton Murphy breaking the 9.9 club twice on the beam and the floor today. Jada Rondeau snatched up the uneven parallel bars with a 9.875, and Maura Vansky winning the vault with a 9.825. All around, Peyton Murphy with a 39.375, one of her best showings of the season. And that breaks her career record. She was previously at a 39.325. As you take a look at her score on the floor with a 9.925. Peyton Murphy, one of the best gymnasts on this team, two 9.9s here today on Sunday. Peyton Murphy with the senior Sarah Shirley, who's graduating from Western Michigan with a 4.0 GPA this coming spring. Murphy, after a devastating injury last year, notches up two 9.9s and perhaps seals it for Western. So Murphy captures the all-around with a 39.375. Other story for the Eastern Michigan side was Jada Rondeau, a 39.2 flat As you get a look at her beam score with a 9.95, that's her career best. A lot of records set today for both the Eagles and the Broncos. It has been fun to watch, especially the third and fourth rotations. Western Michigan set a high bar on the balance beam, and Eastern Michigan came in and absolutely lived up to it. Jada Rondeau tying Peyton Murphy at 9.95, and then it was a clean sweep from there. Spots 3 through 6 were all Eastern Michigan on the beam.
Ladies and gentlemen, and that concludes our competition for today. We will have the results for you shortly. Please stand by.
Public address announcer telling the teams to be patient, just double checking the scores. Right now it looks like Western Michigan might have a slight edge with Peyton Murphy's 9.95 on the beam and a 9.25 on the floor, both from Peyton Murphy and Carissa Ludwig. Eastern Michigan really gave it all they could in that fourth rotation with fantastic showing on the balance beam, their best of the season. Take a look at some of these beam highlights from the Eagles. It was their season best on the balance beam by a long shot, a 49.35 team score. Their previous high was 49.05, and they stuck just about every dismount. Jada Rondeau leading the way with a 9.95 on the balance beam. And this was Jada Rondeau for that 9.95, fantastic dismount. But huge scores on the floor have really been the difference for Western Michigan. Carissa Ludwig and Peyton Murphy, both with 9.925s, tying for first place on the floor exercises. Take a look at some of the highlights from the Broncos on the floor, trying to preserve that lead that they had through 3 rotations. Stacey Harrison, the senior, with a solid showing. Western Michigan really finishing strong as you get a look at Ronnie Binstock there. What a day it's been. Peyton Murphy, 2 9.9s. 2 better than 9.9s, I should say. She hit a 9.925 on the floor for the best of her season and a 9.95 on the beam. Teams are wrapping up, just waiting on those final scores. As you can see, Western Michigan over on the left wearing their gold sweatshirts, and Eastern Michigan on the right wearing their gray sweatshirts. Another tightly contested dual meet between these two teams. Eastern got the best of Western on the 6th of February. Can Western Michigan close it out on their senior day? These are the tentative scores as they stand. It looks like Western Michigan with a slight edge by just 0.05 right now. And take a look at those balance beam scores. Both teams breaking 49. Western Michigan came in hot with a 49.025, and then Eastern came in with a team 49.35. This has been an outstanding match to watch. Each team with 2 events where they broke 49. As we wait on the final scores, public address announcer now addressing the 3 seniors, Alexis Olivier, Sarah Shirley, and Stacey Harrison. Getting emotional in their last meet of the regular season here at University Arena. They will be back for the MAC Championships in just about a month. March 20th here, same place for the MAC Championships that were supposed to be here in 2020 before that season got cut short. Stacey Harrison has been such a staple and a leader on this team. You see her on the far right, competing in mainly 3 events: vault, uneven bars, and floor exercises. Alexis Olivier, a little bit more specialized. She's mainly been on the uneven bars this year. And Sarah Shirley has not competed so far this season, but such a leader on this team, graduating with a 4.0 from Western Michigan in the spring. You see the hugs from head coach Penny Jernigan, who was so effusive in her praise of her 3 seniors. She said her face lit up with a smile as soon as anyone mentions them. Says they bring positivity day in and day out to each practice. And really during this challenging season with the COVID protocols in place and the shortened conference schedule, they have done such a great job leading this team to a 4-3 record so far. Savoring the moment. Bouquets of flowers and pictures presented to each of the three. Alexis Olivier on the far left, Sarah Shirley in the middle, Stacey Harrison on the right.
Our third senior, Stacey Harrison, serves as our team captain and has been an all-around competitor during her time as a Bronco. As a freshman, she won the uneven bars at the MAC championship.
So as these senior day presentations wrap up, we will wrap up our coverage here on Watch ESPN. Western Michigan with the win, 196.025 to 195.975. Western Michigan gets the win on senior day. I'm David Korzanowski saying so long from University Arena, where your final score is Western Michigan 196.025, Eastern Michigan 195.975. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streamed live and archived on the ESPN app. For my entire crew here at Broncos Production, this has been a presentation of ESPN. Have a great day, everybody.